Hi, this is Laurie Laizure with To the Trade. And of course, I have Nile with me as always. Hi, Nile.
Hi.
We were just talking about our kids going back to school. Mine are old. We have one that just got an apartment. Isabel is moving out.
Exciting.
Just got
That's so
today
exciting.
found out she has an apartment and she's
That's
moving out.
exciting.
It's exciting for her.
You're feeling a little sad
Bummed.
about it?
I'm
Oh,
bummed. I don't want
yeah.
her to go. I'm like,
Yeah.
no one's gonna buy your snacks at your new house. I'm over it, Mom. I'm sorry. I
I can get my own
gotta cut the
snacks.
ties sometime.
Yep.
But you guys will see her at High Point because she's coming with us to High Point, which is very exciting. She's going to take our photos and our videos. And we won't be seeing Maria, who is here as our guest. We
Unfortunately, yeah,
love
that's right.
Maria. And we're going to be super sad not to see you because we loved seeing you at KBiz. Maria, tell us about Design Appy. Tell us about what you did. I think it's super cool. I want the designers to know what you're doing because I think more of them need to pay attention because it's really such a great productivity hack, in my opinion.
So, what happened for me is that I work with builders, developers, and investors. And what I found was the shorter the window of time between like concept and estimation makes all the difference in the profitability of a design business. I was able to generate like $20,000 in design fees in 1 month by cutting down the delays between projects by making everything super fast. So it's like a mobile design studio for these builders and investors. And I could meet with homeowners and I could help them get a design center put together. And the solution to that was to cut out the getting back to a computer and doing a presentation and having another meeting because everybody I would work with would get on Pinterest, make changes, come back and complain, have met with someone else, and caused a lot of mess in the process. And so I created a drafting to specification program that could be put on an iPad so that I could just get it done and email it out directly from the iPad. It's like drafting, but with pictures, everything's to scale, and you can create interior elevations with it. So there's never a pushback on I can't see it. And I was just able to make it work. And I do have a specific clientele base, but it's a nice clientele base if you can tap into it and service them, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you have always, from that forefront, been, since we've met each other, like you've been so generous with designers about any technology. You just really dive in, you help them understand it and learn about it. You're working with ASID, you're teaching designers from that perspective about technology and how you can embrace it. And I know you and I have had so many great conversations privately about AI and practical, the things that designers need to maybe be wary of, but how they should be embracing it and what the environmental impact is on AI. And there's just a lot to think about with AI. And I think if I'm speaking for designers, I think that there's a little bit of fear there that it's going to come and replace what they do. I've already seen some initial sourcing links, but spitting out a design and sourcing links. Here's all the things in this that you can buy. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't have your specific space or know the size of your door and how can you fit that sofa into your door. And it doesn't think about all the things that a designer thinks. But if I'm a designer, I'm thinking for a certain clientele, that's a little scary. That's a little scary. It's commodifying what I do to an extreme. So I think that designers have a right to be a little bit thinking about that concern, certainly. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
My whole philosophy with all technology is it's not good or bad. It's actually always both. And so there's a fine line that everyone should stand on, that they have an opinion about that is not for me and that is for me. And having an understanding, like a really solid understanding of how technology impacts communication with clients, how technology impacts the value of what you produce, having a really strong, independent decision that you can make about your business and how it's going to use it is really so empowering because you no longer feel like there's no way it's going to take my job away. And then you also have, and I'm going to use this as a shortcut to get a little bit more money a little bit faster and move people along the process a little bit faster. And so I love technology. I'm never going to let anyone be afraid of it. And the reason why I think there's any fear at all with these programs is because there is stuff that people aren't talking about. And like Laurie and I've been talking about, we share behind the scenes things like terms and conditions and energy use articles. It's not sexy. Interior designers don't want to really understand what Google's environmental impact is for 2024, but I don't mind. I'll read up on it and I'll review it and I'll digest that information and come up with a way that it's bite sizable and good for everybody to know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I do think it's important to think about the bigger impact AI has on the environment, on the industries that it's going to be impacting. And I've been thinking about it and using it quite a bit for my own business, obviously. Like interior design community does use AI. We have a lot of, I use AI for productivity. I use AI for research. I use AI for preliminary blog posting. I use it for data scraping and data processing. I use it for a lot of different things. Yeah. So I get it. Nile, you're using AI too, though, in your business a little bit, right?
Yeah.
What
I mean,
what are the main things you're using it for?
it's literally like my day-to-day assistant, if you will. It's built into so many different things. It's built into, I use Grammarly.
Yep.
So Grammarly, and
Now, one thing too I want to add to Grammarly is, did you see the new, I know this is getting off topic, but it's on topic too. AI, the iOS and Apple, if you buy a new phone this year, which I'm going to buy the new phone that's just come out, it's going to have basically like a Grammarly built in, and that the password service too, that like Dashlane, all of those that it really keeps
yes,
encrypted passwords. They
yes,
have their own app now for passwords that will be native to the phone and the computer, which is like game changing. Their own version of Grammarly, their own version of like basically AI assist to, one of the things that drives me nuts is like a typo in my comments for
yep,
Instagram. Because I'll be writing something and I re-edit it, but it's in that little screen, and then so I don't see that I've made a typo, and then you can't edit it, but it's
yep.
just there. And even though you made the typo out right after, this will have that done for you. So I'm writing an article right now with ChatGPT and myself on all the new iOS features, and because obviously Apple just came out with their new iOS earlier this week, and it has a lot of
Yeah.
really like reminders go into your calendar now.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
There's your emails, they're like searching your emails and then reminding you that it's in a calendar. And then if you have, say for instance, I text you, Nile, and I'm like, hey, what time is your flight from to High Point or to Greensboro?
Yeah.
And tell me what time it is. It will send me like a notification that it's time to come pick you up.
Oh, that's cool.
Our text messages, and it's
I
going to
didn't know about that one.
like information. I'm like, this is so great.
I've been too
But
busy
it's
focusing.
useful, but
I've
it's
been too busy
creepy.
focusing on the one in the notepad that
Yes.
gives you the answers, because my kids discovered that one, and so now I'm like taking the tablets, taking the phones, because it's like math is, you have to learn math.
You actually have to learn the math.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But so I've been using it more so to temper like spell check and all that grammatical errors, but also for me, if I'm sending a message to a client and like it's got to be a stern message, I want to, for me, sometimes my reactions are gut reactions. And I use it now to say, make this engaging, or make this so that the message gets across that, hey, cut that out. But it comes across in a very, and I'm telling you, like,
The tone is changed.
oh my God,
Yeah.
it has been such a game changer. And I've learned, I will say, that not only have I used it for that, but then I, in turn, by reading how my text has been changed, I have learned. And so in person, I will take cues from that, and I'll say, I'll
Yeah.
use some of the things that I've learned.
You're
And so
not,
it's
you're
been,
reacting differently.
yeah,
too.
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
amazing.
100%.
That's
Yeah.
huge, actually. That's really like a real life, like it's AI and it's doing the work for you, but it's also teaching you.
And the funny thing is, I have no idea. Like I tell people all the time, I have no idea how to do the picture stuff. So I'm not even work the whole like creative room. I don't even couldn't even begin to tell you how to do it. Everything I do is surrounded around activity.
Productivity.
Yeah, yeah,
That's I think that's the
yeah.
most useful, and that's really the entry level for most designers. But Marie and I have talked when the images started to hit Instagram, I was really concerned because even still today, like there are so many people hitting,
I'm looking at Maria's face.
yeah. She is we both were like privately DMing each other going, "Oh yeah, do you see how many people are doing this? Like, what is going on? Do they not realize they're ruining Instagram?" Like it's once you get an eye for it, once you see what an AI image looks like,
Yeah,
you can't unsee it. There's something soft and different about it. And it's very rare that it will fool me. I can see an AI image pretty easily. And there are designers that have gotten caught out there, unfortunately, lying and saying that an AI image is a design that they actually did. And it's
that's
been
not,
very embarrassing for some of the designers. I know a designer who got kicked out of a community group, not mine, for that behavior and doubling down and saying, no, it was their design. And rightfully, so. I think Instagram is also concerned about it. They know it's going to ruin social media if every image is AI. So they're like marking things as AI. And Maria, there's some issues with that too, right? What are those?
There's going to be metadata attached to any of these images. And it's also going to show when they've been updated. And let's be real, these platforms own those images and they want you to be labeling what platform produced the images. If you're not saying this was made by Midjourney, then you're actually not following their terms and conditions and their guidelines to use these platforms. So standing out there and saying this is an AI and it didn't get made by AI, that's Adobe has a whole platform that they're creating right now where they can notate and track the modifications and images that are being done with AI. So
Some of those
pretending like
are
that's not
coming up.
happening.
Yeah, some of those are coming up incorrect too, because Instagram, I know photographers had jumped on because there are really like small edits you can do. I talked to an interiors photographer who he's like, you just didn't notice that the reflection on that toaster was weird and wonky. So I wanted to take that toaster right out. Or the cord was noticeable and I didn't see it at the time. So they do these little quick because they can edit by in Adobe through just typing in. And now where it used to be very time sensitive. But unfortunately, Instagram at this point can't really differentiate how much AI you've done in that image editing. So images that have been edited in AI will have to show that they are AI produced images rather than when it really wasn't. It was like actually a photographer took the image, they cleaned it up, but they did some editing in AI. It's going to be a very complicated issue, I think. But
Mhm.
ultimately, I think the platforms do not want us to not tell the truth and say that if they're AI driven because they don't want they want to I think they want to not encourage people from, they want to not encourage people from just flooding because there are so many bots now. There are so many bot accounts on Instagram, so many bot accounts on Twitter, on Facebook. They don't want to flood social media with fake, amazingly beautiful, but fake images that are just nothing. It's just, I could make right now 300 images and flood your Instagram, like start doing 10 a day for this month in a matter of minutes. And they would all look beautiful, but they would all be AI.
So what would you say? So Maria, what is your answer to someone who says, okay, so the AI image doesn't exist, right? It's created, it doesn't exist. But if a designer creates, so if you get a client, we offer design only. So sometimes we don't go to execution and
Sure.
it's just a package, right? And maybe they're not going to take it. Happens more in commercial. Maybe they're not going to take it through to execution. What do I know? But at the time that I create the package and I do the renderings and I hand it off, it doesn't exist
Right.
because they haven't constructed it. So you could potentially say that's not real either, because even though it's a rendering and it's a design package and it was a real
That's something that we've
project.
been struggling with too for a long time. There are designers who have renderings on their portfolio, and there's nothing wrong with it as
Yeah.
long as you're saying this is what it was. This is the
Yeah.
what I offered that client for this particular job was a design package with a rendering, and that was the client. That's what I put up there. So the problem I think exists. And Maria, you and I have talked about this, like, it's the ethics part of that too, is like some designers aren't disclosing. Some designers aren't. And you can imagine, and I know it's difficult for a new designer who's before you make it. I don't have any projects. What do I put
Right.
in my portfolio? It's really hard, but you can't have this beautiful cavernous kitchen that looks like it's in a $30 million home and make it look like it's yours and then pretend that you could do that level of work when you never could. You're a brand new designer, you're a baby designer, you really aren't capable of producing that work either. So it is crosses the line of fraud if you're
Mhm.
presenting that you have a skill but you don't have that. And I think a lot of it is up to the like so many things, it's up to personal integrity we all have, and we have to decide where that line is. And for me personally, and we've made the distinction in interior design community that if you're going to have like fake, and we did this after that designer I know of got deleted from a group, we said if in order to stay in our group, in like in the private group anyway, and certainly in our bigger group, to be a member of interior design community, there's an ethics clause too. So we don't want people who are stealing other people's work and putting it on their portfolio ever. That's not okay. We've had to take out a member who had gotten caught with multiple organizations taking a designer's work and putting it in her portfolio, putting it in her house account as her work when it was not her work at all. Like description, I read all of it. You know what I mean? So it was like very cut and dry. This was absolutely wrong. And then of course this is going to be extended with AI too. So your images need to be just clearly marked about what they are. You can't, because to do other than that, it is more fraudulent. You have to be at least clear about what you did, what your process was. It's the same as an interior designer coming in for the second part of the job and they just did a few little things and then photographing the whole thing like they did
Yeah.
the whole job. That ethically is not so great. And it actually hurts that designer when it comes out. And it can really tank a designer's career. I know a big case of that happened this past year, and it was really devastating to the new designer because it was all over this magazine as her work, and it was really this famous interior designer's work, and she had just finished a few little things.
It's crazy. I think the big thing is ownership.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we talk enough about what is ownership when it comes to design and what is ownership when it comes to AI and what we're
Mhm.
presenting, right? And if
Mhm.
we're talking about ownership of what we're capable of doing, then this is where we ask ourselves if the person who refers me that's a professional, if an architect, if a builder, if a developer recommends me, and I am presenting AI as part of my portfolio, what does my referral base then think about me? Because they know it's AI. They know it's not a project you actually did. They know it's fake, right? So we have to understand what is ownership and how is it valued? And how are we presenting ourselves within that level of ownership? So one of the examples I use is what if you hired a graphic designer and they had ChatGPT make your logo and then they sold it to you? And then you could never copyright your own logo or keep anyone else from ever using it because it's actually AI generated content and it wasn't made by a person. And it was input into a public platform for other people to see. Well, that unfortunately is actually the largest caveat we have with AI is that it's public. And if you take a rendering or a design that you have that is private to you and private to your client, the second it is input into any of these platforms, you gave up your rights to your work.
You did. That's something that people don't know. And it's just happening on a where when you think about it from a different industry, the 23andMe scandal that just came out this week. Did you hear this? Like 23andMe is like your DNA, right? And I had concerns early on about family got me one of the kids and I was like, because I was fascinated what percentage of my grandparents are Swedish and Norwegian, like what percentage of that is in my DNA? But what I never actually sent it in because I had concerns about the data and how reading the terms and conditions and where it would go. And now they're having all their whole board quit this week, and they're in trouble and might be listed from the stock market because they do want to go private, but people have deep concerns about where that data is going. It could prevent you from getting health insurance someday if they find health markers. And so the data is incredibly valuable. And of course, these companies want that data. So it's like House, when House had you upload those images and then said, once you upload these images, these are our images.
Yeah.
And we all are so quick to click yes on those terms and conditions. So we've been trained, all of us have been trained to do it because they're so long and they get changed all the time, and we don't go back and read them. And it's very concerning where that goes.
Because I do these things, I recently looked up a new AI application that a lot of people are promoting online because you get a referral fee if someone clicks on it and then starts using the program. So I'm getting a lot of emails from people who are like, hey, I teach AI image generation and I have a special promo code for this. You should download it. So I was like curious. So I read the terms and conditions and I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, their terms and conditions, they say on the front, like their first thing is over 2 million users. This is some kind of symbol to like the high quality of our product. And then you go to the terms and conditions and they're a cut and paste from some kind of online terms and conditions for a software. Has nothing to do with ownership of image generation. It has nothing to do with where the information's going, what the back end AI program is that it's using, because they didn't invent the AI platform that's associated with their program. So they probably are dumping everything that it's creating into one of these open source platforms that you aren't even aware of. And because they don't call that out in their terms and conditions, I'm just like, 2 million people are using the platform and no one has looked to check and see what their privacy policy is and what their terms and conditions are. I don't get it. Like,
companies have popped up. Well, you can build an app on top of ChatGPT by letting ChatGPT help you build that app. And then you can say that there are 2 million users, even though you're maybe factoring in ChatGPT users and not just users of your platform. And you can copy and paste. You can use ChatGPT to just get a bunch of different terms and conditions. You can do that in an afternoon, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And post it online. And then you've got people.
Online.
And then you've got people taking architectural renderings, uploading them to these platforms to get them transformed into a 3D rendering to save time, but they just exposed their client's project. And now, the other issue with ownership when it comes to AI is that if you don't have some kind of clause in your personal contract that's directly associated with your client, and you are using any of these platforms and you put your design into it or they put your design into it, they can start modifying and upscaling and changing around your designs. And then let's just say they want to do a rollout of boutique stores, right? You did the first initial design, you gave them all of your architectural renderings. These programs that take an architectural rendering and change it with a couple of words, those same clients can change it enough to say that's not your original design. And that $50,000 fee you had for rollout of your same design over and over again, you lose because they've been using an AI platform to take and process your information and create a new design and a new concept and run off with it. And so AI is not going to steal your job, but AI also is something that you need to get a handle on. You need to understand how to protect yourself with AI, and you need to understand that it's time to stand up for yourself and use best practices. And like I said, nobody should be afraid of it. Nobody should be scared of it, but nobody should be.
It is scary when you think, like, when you're
it's
things you're saying. Of course, I would be
scary.
I would be because the idea of uploading your own design and then that design becoming a part of the data that they have to produce more design from your design. You don't think of that. You just think about getting the rendering that you want to have. And that it saved you time. And I would absolutely have some deep concerns if I were, when I'd be asking some tough questions to those particular companies before I would upload images
Well,
like that. There are
but
so
wait, are you
many
talking about uploading images to AI for renderings?
yeah.
Oh no, I meant doing a rendering like a traditional rendering.
No, this is
No.
That
AI.
that
Yeah.
was my question.
No,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
No.
AI,
Okay.
the traditional rendering, I think it's fine to have that on your portfolio. I just think you just need to say that's what it is. It's I think that having different kinds of projects and different ways that you work in your portfolio as examples, like sometimes your client, like you've said, sometimes your clients, you're not following all the way till install and execution. You're just doing the rendering and the
It's just
product list,
design. Yeah, we're
the
just offering them
design,
the
yeah,
design. Yeah.
and that's your work. That is what it is, and you can
Yeah.
say that's what it was, and this is what the budget was for that, and this is the type of work that I do that you can hire me for. That is a
Yes.
perfectly legitimate, very open, easy thing. Now, if you show that and you say, "This is a design I did, and this is a project that I completed, and I installed it," then that's lying. You know what I mean? So, it's very clear to like, it's okay in marketing to move things around. I don't have a problem with that
Yeah,
sometimes.
I don't say things like, "This is a project we completed for a couple in transplant couple from Brooklyn." That's
Yeah,
what I would say. I
yeah,
don't say we installed it, but I might not say it's a rendering. But my thing too is like I hate to be
yeah, go ahead.
blunt, but how
Yeah.
stupid are people? Because obviously it's a rendering. It doesn't look like
Right.
the
There are a
renderings.
lot of dum-dums out there, though.
You know what I mean? The AI I can see. AI I can
Yeah.
see. That
Yeah.
does look more
AI is a little
photographic.
harder.
Yeah. But
Usually
the renderings just look like renderings to
yeah,
me.
yeah,
You know what I
for
mean?
me too, and I think that
Yeah.
people know the difference between a rendering, but I I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, "This is how I work for those kinds of clients," because then they know what they're going to expect. They're not gonna get full service for a design fee. That's just
So
not what
Maria,
you know?
how do people protect themselves then? Or what are best practices for that?
Best practices are to not put your almost complete design project into those platforms and have it create photorealistic images. It's
In
just
AI, okay.
not a good idea. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely not something that you should do because technically I could be a freshman level college kid and I could go on AI and I could search because you can search in those AI platforms for images. And I could search for a type of design, find an image, and put that in a school portfolio. And that could be your design because you uploaded your work into these platforms and they're fully searchable.
And
See, I didn't even know you could
that's
do
how it
that.
becomes part of that's how AI exist. That's how they build is by
Oh.
getting anything that you put online, now like all your whole website, all those stuff that you put online, all the Instagram images, those are
Yeah.
already being searched by AI so that AI can get smarter about this is about interior designers and how their websites are and what an about me section looks like. And
Yeah.
you already know all of that because they've searched and crawled every single interior designer's website and they know all the words on it and what it looks like. And they put that all together to say, this is what a good about me page looks like. And this is what a good portfolio page looks. And they can just spit it out in a minute. Like this.
I never knew you could upload images. Never.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Never ever. And that's news to me.
But
I
it's like a
one
terms and conditions issue. Like you can give your DNA to 23andMe, but you don't know
Right.
what they're going to, what
Do with it.
eventually is going to be done with it. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah. No, that's a
So
good yeah, that's
down the road prevent you from health insurance because you have a marker that will have cancer in it down the road and that's going to be expensive. So they can deny you for that. You don't know if it's going to prevent you from car insurance because you have a degenerative eye condition that they could pick up in your DNA. There's all sorts of factors we don't think about when we're just like easily giving information to these companies without knowing what they're going to actually do with it everywhere. And this has
oh,
been going on, by the way. This isn't
forever.
new. Since the internet realized, wow, there's a lot of data here. Like the Cambridge Analytica scandal that Facebook got into years ago, where they were literally showing you testing on people how they could affect your mood by what your feed looked like. there was a psychological program that went on behind the scenes where they were changing your feed and my feed. And that was determining, allegedly, they were trying to see how it would affect someone's mood by if I put more angry posts or more political posts into your feed versus my feed, would it affect our moods? Would it affect how we
Ooh.
feel? And unfortunately, those things can be manipulated. Things like this can be manipulated. And we need to think about the data that we put into the system, not just the data we're getting out of it, or not just the things we're getting out of it. But these are bigger issues, but there's something to think about. And I think you're right, Maria. I think that's something that if I were, intellectual property and copyright are huge factors. Like, you can pull out a lot of information from ChatGPT, but you do know that none of that can be copyrighted. So if you wrote your book based on, you use it as a ghostwriter to help you write a book, if you're using it to write your blog, none of that is actually copyrightable.
Yes.
So that does not belong to you, even though, and it's all that metadata is in that. So you have to edit it. You can change words. You can make it so that it is copyrighted by you, but it's copy paste. It's not. It's just something to think. It's really just something to think about from that perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just think differently. Yeah.
It doesn't hurt you.
Because I can't even see why
right?
somebody would. Yeah, but I don't even think, and maybe I have maybe I'm using the wrong platform. Because I don't.
No, I think you're using the right ones. I
It
think
never even gets it right the first time for me. Maria, when I do something and I say, help me write a letter for a dot, maybe it's one word, maybe it's 5, but I will always have to edit. It never gets me completely right. And so I don't know how somebody could just copy and paste and send, because it's like you for me, it's like an idea starter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I still have to fill in and give it my own flavor, so to speak.
And
So,
yeah.
but
Have you
maybe,
ever
but you guys know better. Go ahead.
have you ever asked it to write you a poem or to write you some prose?
No.
It can put together writing in like Dr. Seuss's voice that could be like, you could say, write a poem in Dr. Seuss to my interior design clients, include it to be about Christmas, and make it short enough I can put it on a Christmas card.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy that how much, and you can say, analyze this blog and use this voice with this, write it as an expert level content writer, but
Oh
use
yeah,
your
I've
own
done all.
edit,
Yeah, I've
you
done
know what I mean?
that.
And
Whole
you're still
paragraph.
going, and even editing one word, it doesn't mean that doesn't make that copyrighted from that. Like, you can't copyright that.
It's
So,
still. I still.
for an email, that doesn't matter. You don't care if you're copyrighted.
No, and I'm
Right?
not
You know what I
copyrighting
mean? Like,
anything these
yeah.
days, but I just don't know how somebody, maybe again, I'm using the wrong one, or maybe I'm not giving it the right information about me, but it never spits back at me information where it sounds like me or what I want to send.
Know the trick. How to
Yeah,
make
I
it
think
sound like
I
you.
think my prompts are, I think that's the problem. My
You
prompts
can
Yeah.
make
are
a whole file of all the things you've written, or even a writer you like.
And
Give this-
input it
Yeah.
as your voice, and then when it writes, it will replicate your voice.
like words you use most often, how you see the style of how you actually do
Oh
write.
wow.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can give it enough information that it starts to mimic you. There are AIs on voices. My husband does. He's technical. He's a director of technical training kind of guy. And he does instructional videos sometimes for work. And he has discovered an AI tool that will do your voice. So he's given it a lot of data on his voice. And now actors are terrified of this, because imagine that an actor's all of the data already from all the movies that Brad Pitt has been in, or Samuel L. Jackson, and you could just make Samuel L. Jackson say anything you wanted, and it would. That's the scary part. But from his perspective, he's been able to train AI with his own voice so that if the new printer comes out, it's got a little bit of a different, it's very expensive to do a voiceover. So like to be able to change that script just slightly because they made a mistake, or they want to change something little about a procedure, and he could go in and just change that without having to redo the whole thing. so much time saving for that kind of thing. And we could do that a designer could do that same thing too. If there's a voiceover, a video that you wanted to do, you could just have a script written out through AI instead of having to, and then it would have your voice on it, Nile, over the video. And you wouldn't have to actually sit there and, speak it 4 times or 5 times till you got it right. You would just do it.
Wow.
There was that voice AI that came out. Do you remember that? It was like a year, maybe 14 months ago. And they asked Scarlett Johansson if they could use her voice for the program. And so whenever you asked it a question, it sounded like Scarlett Johansson. Problem is, she said no. They didn't pay her and still did it anyway.
Yeah. Because they can. They already have
They
that
can.
data. They have that data already.
Yeah.
It's just like lawsuits waiting to happen. But at the same time, that's the stuff that can happen. But I will say there are some amazing things I think designers should be really thinking about with AI. The things that just get very overwhelming to do. And that designers sometimes don't. You're starting your business and you really want that first client and you don't really think about, how do I make a brand for myself? I get a lot of those questions from designers, like, how do I make sure my brand, what separates me from every other designer out there? How do I make my about page look good? How do I make my portfolio look good? How do I be found on on Google? And there's a lot that a designer can do because you don't have a tremendous amount of time to do. You can ask it about competitive research. You could put in the URLs of every single designer that's in your city. You could be like, hey, give me all the interior designers in Philadelphia and their websites. And you could take that and say, give me a competitive Google SEO strategy for all of the designers in Philadelphia to compete with all the designers in Philadelphia. And I want to outrank them in keywords. Give me a list of the keywords that I need to be looking at for blog posts. Then you can go attack them one by one, right? Up a blog post that is 1,500 words on best interior designers in Philadelphia. And then you can start to do that one by one, and you can schedule those out 3 times a week. Boom, you've edited it a little bit. Maybe you run it through Grammarly. Maybe you run it through some sort of, there are AI detectors that you can get it around so it sounds more human. And you can put that up, and within 6 months, you're going to have a pretty good marketing strategy. You might actually be beating every designer in your area because you're thinking outside the box and doing things that maybe they might not be thinking of. Like your idea about the Dr. Seuss, what a great idea for a Christmas card to or a newsletter out to all of your design clients. Could be a newsletter thing that you're helping yourself design. We do them a lot for lead magnets. But we play around with it. I put a lot of information that I do know. And then I let an AI create like a really great PDF that I can say, hey, you want this amazing DIY, like right now I worked on a DIY PR workbook for interior designers. And I put a bunch of my ideas in and I had it create more ideas. It's 26 slides of really great information about how an interior designer can DIY their own PR.
Wow.
And I can say, sign up for my email list and I'll give you this free guide to DIY your PR as an interior designer. And it's beautiful. And if I could bring it up right now and I could show you, it's gorgeous. It's got a lot of my ideas in it, but there's a lot of AI ideas in there too. And it's laid out beautifully. And it would have taken me at least a month to design that. And I was able to design it in a day. So there's just a lot of really awesome productivity hacks to dominate in marketing, to dominate on social media, to save yourself time. I love the way you're using it, Nile, with the email sentiment, and that it's actually training you in life too. Like you're thinking differently and reacting differently because it started to help you learn a script to have tough conversations. And that's brilliant. That's brilliant that you're doing that. So I think that there's a lot that AI can give to us and can teach us, especially when we're all struggling with the whole business side of design sometimes. And having tough conversations is never fun for anyone. If it can help ease that burden for any designer, I think that's just amazing. So there are so many positive, like Maria, like you said, like it's not negative or positive. It's just like finding out where that line is for you, what works for you and how you can use it so that you are getting what you need to be successful in business, but not doing things that hurt your business too. It's like being aware of the terms and conditions, being aware of what the negative side is. And I think the more educated decision you make, and that's better for your business, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things too that I bring up whenever I do my CEUs is that look at your client, see how they respond, see what they say, find out if they're giving you pushback. Just because you can get a design further along faster with these tools, you might be messing it up because your client relationship does require a certain amount of messiness. It needs that messy middle in the design process for everybody to be on board and for everybody to commit and for everybody to be on the same team. And if you want to circumvent the messy middle, what you do is you put yourself too far along in the design process too quickly. You microwave the relationship. And what happens is you're going to find that you're going to get pushback or you're going to have a client that looks at something, say an AI image that you produced quickly, and then but like when you build it, it doesn't look like that picture. And this color doesn't look like that image. And but this shows you have enough space to work that stove into that corner. So you could be setting yourself up for failure if you don't understand your client experience, if you don't understand deeply what your processes are as a designer. However, yes, if you are not using AI, your brand is going to fall behind other people's. Because with AI, you can create a brand voice. You can really build out who your client is that you're wanting to talk to in all of your writing. And you can take and develop with chat. You can sit with chat one day and say, hey, ask me 20 questions about my ideal client so that I can give you enough information that we can create a little summary of what it is that I'm talking to. And we're going to name her Angela, right? So then every time you reference something in ChatGPT, you can say, please speak to Angela and use my brand voice. So after you build out your ideal client that you're talking to, you can also have it review your current writings, things you've got written, your about me. You'll have a formal brand voice and you'll have a casual brand voice. And then chat can summarize what you sound, how you talk to people, how educated you sound, how compelling you sound. It will come up with a summary of what your brand voice is. And you can use these little like briefcases of information. You have your ideal client profile, you have your brand voice. You can have an assistant help you with a task and it can sound like you did it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty crazy. I know that works. I've messed around with it enough that it does. Maria, you're like spot on. It absolutely does that. And it does sound like me when I do. And I have tested it to see if other people see a difference and no one sees a difference. No, it's not perfect. There are some things that you have to do, and you do have to feed it information that
Yeah.
you know that is specific to what you're trying to get as far as the output is concerned. Because, for instance, when we were building this PR document that we're going to be sending out, it wasn't talking about the things that I think are important for interior designers. Like if I just said, build me a workbook for how an interior designer can DIY PR, it's going to be very generic. It's just going to shoot out a generic thing. But if I say, here are some examples of things that I think are really clever ways that designers could do that. So they could download Google Drive app, this specific Google Drive app that will help them capture emails from LinkedIn for writers and editors. And they could, here's what a pitch I think would look. They want to make sure that they're talking about who the client is. They want to make sure they're talking about a problem that the client had and how they solved it. And they want to talk about any products that would be advertisers for those magazines. And they want to talk about how they solved the problem, if there were any issues that came up and some clever ways that they handled those issues. And they want to talk about the scope and what that project costs and in the budget for that project. And then you can also take that and say, okay, now that I've created all that, I want it to spit out a pitch that's 250 words, 750 words, 1,500 words, so that I can give this writer 3 different examples that they could work this product into any of their magazines and with the images. And now you're way ahead of so many other designers because you have given them, basically done their job for them. Like, everybody's lazy. Everybody doesn't want to do more work than they have to. So if you've answered a lot of my questions and I'm not going to have to come back and ask those questions to you, I'm more likely to use what you have versus someone else. Also knowing their editorial calendar. When are they sourcing Christmas articles? It's usually July and August. So if you're pushing Christmas articles in November, you're too late. They've already selected in the magazine what's going in the magazine in December, probably by the end of August. So knowing what their editorial calendar is, if they're going to be doing a blue Christmas, it's going to be on their editorial calendar and you have just done you did a great job last year on someone's home, all decorated in blues. You'd be perfect for them. So those kinds of things where you're understanding the landscape. And if I'm asking AI, just give me an AI guide to marketing, it's not going to come up with those things because it really doesn't understand our market the way we do. But if I put in what I think, all the things that I think I write, like a dump all of my stuff, not great grammar, but write it in my voice, write it to organize these thoughts. It will organize all of those thoughts and make it absolutely beautiful. And it will look like I spent a month doing it.
Yeah.
And it's,
You have a line. I have a line here, though. I have to say it. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Laurie, like you said earlier to Nile, an email, you can use ChatGPT to write it for you.
Yeah.
A blog post, if you want to, yes. If press reaches out to you and asks you to answer questions or give them information, if it is written by ChatGPT, they will blacklist you.
Yeah.
So you do not in those situations because they cannot copyright it. So we go back to who owns the copyright of that information. A magazine can't put out content that's not written by a person. They can't put out ChatGPT content. If it came back as ChatGPT, that would hinder their reputation. And so just like we were talking about earlier, who has the ownership of the content? That should be one of the largest, most ominous questions we're asking at all times, right? That email can go out. The email can go out that says, hey, I have this project. These are my problems. These are my solutions. These are some of the vendors I use. Would you be interested in publishing this project? And if they say yes, step away from ChatGPT. You started the relationship with the magazine. They need human generated content. And just remember, ChatGPT, AI, all of these resources are starting to train more off of other AI. And just like blog posts are being made in ChatGPT, what's happening is AI is training off of blog posts and about me pages, and those are all written now by ChatGPT. So the quality of that content will become lesser and less high quality.
Yeah.
High quality AI comes from training off of human made content. That's why I say keep your good high quality designs, your high quality
all your high quality work, period.
Behind closed doors, because that's what the magazine wants it. The magazine, my goodness, don't load an image into AI that is of a design project you hope to pitch to a magazine in the future. Think about how that impacts how your business works. Yes, AI is out there. Yes, it's easy and fun. I totally love it for concept images. So I'm not saying it's bad. Use it for concept images. Make it your Pinterest board. Search it for really amazing images because like
I mean, it could
Pinterest,
be a great starting point. It's
oh
like,
my God, it's
you know,
fantastic. Yeah.
ideas you weren't thinking. Like it's Google basically, and
Yeah.
that
Crop it down. Pick the part that you like out of the image. Use it as a concept, but don't pretend like it's a finished product. And keep in mind, if you load your content into these platforms, Midjourney owns that image and Midjourney has a license to use it forever. And they don't care. Whoever else is on their platform also gets to use it forever. And if you're hoping to pitch it to a magazine in the future, you have just cut yourself short on that. So also don't use ChatGPT to write what the magazine is asking you to
oh no,
write.
not quotes ever. No,
Ever. Your
ever.
quotes are never,
No.
ever supposed to be made with AI.
You can use it for your pitches. It's basically an email. They're not going to use your word for word, but it's all the information that
They need.
pitch is hard. It's not an easy thing that most designers know how to do correctly. And you don't know the questions that they are going to ask, but you can ask it the questions that you think a writer would ask, and that you can make sure that information is inside of that pitch. Pitching is different.
But what
Yeah.
if the magazine's not just because I want
Yeah.
everybody to be clear? If the magazine's asking you, interviewing you, asking you some questions, and you're answering the questions, and you put into Chat GPT, answer these questions, and this is how I want you to answer them, and these are the answers. Like, but you just don't have the way to eloquently word it. Say they're asking you, what is your favorite color and why? Tell them my favorite color is blue because I like, I don't know, going to the ocean and it reminds me of my childhood and it reminds me of growing up. But you don't have the way to, it's your content, it's your words, but you can't formulate it in a way that sounds eloquent.
Okay, so I have a very strong opinion on this. Sorry, I know
Yes.
you
Yeah,
guys
go
would like to
ahead.
stop commandeering this.
No,
No,
please.
we're
Okay.
interviewing you.
Yeah.
Okay, so say you get that request and they say, hey, I would love to know more about what color you're thinking is coming up this next season. And we would love to quote you in this, or we would like for you to give us some information to write an article. Don't run it through ChatGPT. However, if you want to, you could brainstorm stuff like, give me a storytelling story structure about why blue would be important to someone to use as a paint color. Then after you read some of that information about what ChatGPT tells you about how color can influence or any of this kind of stuff, go do more research, look at things. Then with that knowledge, write what you want.
Right. Are you still there?
Uh,
There. I don't know what happened.
but it was still recording. So we just
Okay,
wanted to
good,
make sure.
good,
Yeah.
good.
Sorry.
And we stopped because we were like, uh-oh, this is
Yeah.
good.
We weren't
Something
sure. Yeah.
happened. I don't know what happened either. It's
you-
never happened done with that before, but good.
Yes. So my thought is, yes, you can look at ChatGPT. You can ask it to give you some conceptual things.
Yeah.
You can learn from it, just like you said earlier, but do not take what it writes because it has a recognizable sentence structure and it has a recognizable cadence and it has a specific paragraph structure. And so that's where you're jeopardizing yourself is by taking on the framework and the sentence structure that
Right.
anybody who publishes something can immediately see. So it has nothing to do with what you wrote or how you wrote a lovely story about it. It has everything to do with the sentence structure, the words that are used. You can see anything that's been written by ChatGPT and it says something like, hey there. And then it
Oh my God. Yes.
goes into
Yes.
something and then
Oh
it's
my God.
like, and then it's extra great and it's so fantastic. And I will make you the happiest person in the whole entire planet
Yeah.
with my new hose. It's just if you're Googling something about a garden hose and you see it on a website, you're like, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's that enthusiastic.
How
Not
about a
alone,
One's
right?
gonna
Yeah.
promise.
Yeah. What's going on? Thinking.
Yeah. I thought she was so
I don't know
well
what's
done.
happening. The internet is
It's
like out to get me today. I don't know what's happening.
it's so funny because this time I thought you weren't frozen because you were posed in this great smile. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, she's really enjoying this content, like what we're talking about." And then when you didn't move, I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay."
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
Is she
Perhaps
pregnant?
if I'm freezing up in this note, I'm very, very sorry. We actually are
Okay.
running out of time, but thank you, Maria, so much. This is actually, I think that this is one of the most helpful podcasts we've done. I don't you
Yeah.
think, Kyle? Like, I feel like we
I
really got down to what they can do to what they need to think about. How, and I hope it didn't paralyze or scare anybody
No.
because it's really just learning about what works for you and what doesn't and how to protect yourself versus what you don't really need to worry about. And I think that you're right. Emails are fine. It can help you learn things. They can give you good ideas. But when you're talking copyright, and that is, and that could be your intellectual property. That could be something you need to be writing personally. That could be something that's very personal, like about your About Me page that you really want to have as feel like you and feel like something coming from the heart. Those kinds of things are really important and maybe should be done and absolutely should be done by you and absolutely should have that seal of you because you're just important, I think. And that's the key to remember. Like who you are is amazing and that's what people want to see. So if you distance yourself from reality by letting AI take over, you're putting like a glass filter on who you really are. And I think that who you really are is amazing and you don't want to do that because
Right.
just like those, yeah, like when I noticed my kids getting onto social media young when they were younger, and I would start to see, I was always sad that their friends would put these big filters on when they were like 14. I'm like, they're so cute though, as them,
Oh,
as who they are. They don't need to look like a Kardashian. They're adorable and they're so unique and they look so much better as themselves. And so don't want that to be distorted about you either and your design business. We want it to be real and authentic
yeah.
and that's what makes it awesome, in my opinion. Right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Maria. I always love talking to you.
This is great. This is
Yeah.
really great.
Bye.